Every time your dog sniffs the floor right after you pet them, a message flashes by. It's quiet, it's fast. And if you haven't learned to translate dog behavior yet, it looks like nothing, just a nose to the ground, a weird little detour, a random habit. But very often, that moment is your dog answering you. You pet them, maybe on the head, maybe down the back. Maybe you lean in and say something soft and affectionate. And then, almost immediately, they look away, drop their nose, and start sniffing the floor like there's suddenly something fascinating in the carpet. If you've ever seen that and thought, what was that? Did I do something wrong? Are they ignoring me? Are they looking for food? Are they trying to avoid me? You're not overthinking it, because this is one of those ordinary dog moments that looks tiny on the surface, but underneath it, there can be emotion, learning history, body language, stress regulation, and social negotiation all happening at once. The easy explanation is that dogs sniff because dogs sniff. And to be fair, that's not wrong. Sometimes the floor really is interesting. Sometimes you did just pet them in the kitchen and there are crumbs. Sometimes your dog is simply shifting attention. That surface explanation feels reasonable because sniffing is so normal for dogs that it blends into the background. But when the sniffing appears right after touch, especially in a repeating pattern, it often stops being random and starts becoming communication. And the surprising part is this: your dog may not be done with you. They may be trying to regulate what just happened between you. To understand that, you have to start with something humans forget all the time. For us, touch is often the main language of affection. We hug, stroke, pat, squeeze, and hold. We assume touch brings closeness. For dogs, closeness is more complicated. Dogs are social, deeply bonded animals. Many love contact, many seek it out, but they do not experience touch in the same default way humans do. And they absolutely do not all experience the same kind of touch the same way. Their first language is not touch. It's movement, it's space, it's scent, it's pressure, it's pattern. Alexandra Horowitz, who has written extensively about the canine sensory world, keeps bringing people back to a humbling truth. Dogs live through their noses in a way we really don't. Smell is not a side sense for them. It is a primary way of orienting, checking safety, gathering information, and returning to themselves. So when your hand has just entered their space, changed the social pressure, added excitement, maybe even added uncertainty, dropping the nose to the ground can be a way of re-entering their strongest channel of understanding. In simple terms, your dog may be using the floor to get their footing back, not physical footing, emotional footing. That alone changes the whole feeling of the behavior, because now the sniff is not nonsense. It's not your dog being flaky or dramatic. It's your dog moving from a social experience into an information gathering one, from touch back to scent, from intensity back to orientation. And that's only the first layer. The deeper layer is that dogs often use ordinary-looking behaviors to manage social tension. In ethology, animals sometimes perform normal behaviors out of context when arousal rises or conflict appears. These are often called displacement behaviors. In dogs, that can look like sniffing the ground, suddenly scratching, yawning, shaking off, or looking away, not because they are broken, because their nervous system is trying to smooth something out. Turid Rugaus helped many dog owners notice this by describing ground sniffing as one of the small, calming signals dogs can use in social situations. Whether you use that exact label or not, the idea matters. Some dogs sniff the ground, not because the ground is the point, but because the sniff helps lower pressure. That pressure does not have to be huge. This is where people get confused. They hear stress and imagine panic, but in behavior, stress can be very mild. Arousal can be positive, negative, or mixed. A dog can love you and still feel a little activated by the way you touch them. They can be happy and slightly overwhelmed. They can enjoy closeness and still need a second to come down from it. That means the floor sniff after petting can say something like this: "That was a little much. Give me a second. I'm okay. I just need to regulate. Let's keep this soft." And if that sounds almost heartbreakingly polite, that's because it is. A lot of dogs are unbelievably diplomatic. They often try to avoid conflict long before they growl, snap, bark, or openly move away. They use small signals first, subtle ones, socially graceful ones, signals that let everyone save face. Ground sniffing can be one of those graceful exits. Not rejection, not disobedience, a soft landing. And now we reach the part that can be uncomfortable for loving owners. Not all petting feels good to all dogs, even when it comes from someone they trust. That doesn't mean your dog doesn't love you. It doesn't mean you're bad. It means dogs are individuals. Some dogs love long strokes on the chest or shoulders. Some lean into hip scratches. Some melt under slow, predictable contact. And some tolerate a lot more than they actually enjoy, especially when people pet the top of the head, lean over them, hug them, pat them quickly, or touch them when they're already tired, excited, or unsure. Many dogs find hand movement over the face or head more socially intense than humans realize. From our side, it feels sweet and obvious. From their side, it can feel looming, slightly controlling, or just too direct. So if your dog gets petted and then immediately sniffs the floor, it may not mean I hated that. It may mean I accepted that, but I need a moment. And that is a very different story. For puppies, this matters even more. Puppies are still building their entire map of human touch. What does a hand mean? Comfort? Restraint? Play? Grooming? Interruption? Being picked up? Being moved away from something exciting? A puppy who sniffs the floor after petting may simply be processing. Their nervous system is immature, their attention shifts fast, their body is learning what closeness means. For rescue dogs, the meaning can be even heavier. A rescue dog does not arrive as a blank page. They arrive with associations you may never fully know. A hand reaching in may carry old comfort, old confusion, old pressure, or all three at once. So when a rescue dog gets petted and then lowers their nose to the floor, that little movement can be carrying history, not dramatic history, embodied history. That's the important distinction. Dogs do not need a conscious story in their heads for the body to remember patterns. Learning theory tells us that repeated associations shape future responses. If touch has sometimes predicted restraint, collar grabs, wiping paws, nail trims, medications, being moved off furniture, being interrupted during rest, or simply unpredictable handling, then even affectionate touch can come with a trace of anticipation, and anticipation changes behavior. Sometimes the dog is not reacting to the pet itself, they are reacting to what touch has meant before, so the floor sniff becomes a kind of emotional buffer, a pause between the contact and whatever their body half expects next. This is one reason the behavior can feel especially puzzling to devoted owners. You're thinking, but I was being loving. And you were. Absolutely. But dogs do not respond only to our intention. They respond to the full pattern around the interaction. Your hand, your speed, your posture, the body part touched, the dog's current state, the room, what usually happens after contact, the history attached. To human hands, all of that can live inside one tiny nose dropped to the ground. And there's another layer people miss. Sniffing itself is often regulating. This is why behavior professionals so often value decompression. Walks, scent games, and opportunities for free sniffing. Smell lets dogs gather information at their own pace. It gives them agency. It shifts them from absorbing social pressure to actively exploring their environment. That matters because control is calming. A dog being petted is, in a small way, receiving input. A dog choosing to sniff is generating action. They are no longer just being handled. They are doing something that helps them organize themselves. So when your dog sniffs after petting, one possible translation is, not leave me alone, it's let me get back into my body. That is such a powerful reframe, because suddenly the behavior stops feeling rude. It starts feeling intimate. Your dog is showing you the exact mechanism they use to settle. And if you notice this on walks too, the pattern gets even clearer. A dog sees something exciting or slightly concerning, and then they stop to sniff. People often think the dog is getting distracted. Sometimes they are, but sometimes that sniff is the dog preventing escalation. It is the canine version of taking a breath, looking away, touching the ground, doing something familiar to keep the nervous system from tipping over. The same kind of thing can happen in your living room after a pet. Now, one of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to assign one fixed meaning to one body movement. Dog behavior doesn't work like a dictionary, where one gesture equals one exact sentence every time. The floor sniff means more when you read the cluster around it. What does the rest of the dog look like? Do they soften, sniff, and then come right back for more contact? That may be mild regulation in an otherwise positive interaction. Do they turn their head away first, lick their lips, sniff, shake off, and create a little distance? That starts to look more like social pressure release. Do they freeze before the touch, then sniff the floor and leave? That tells a different story. Do they wag loosely, lean into your hand, then briefly sniff and re-engage? Very different again. This is why context is everything. The sniff isn't the whole sentence. It's one word in a longer line of communication. And once you start seeing that, something shifts in the relationship. Instead of asking, "Why is my dog being weird after I pet them?" you start asking, "What did that interaction feel like from their side?" That question changes everything, because it moves you out of judgment and into observation, out of frustration and into fluency. It also protects you from a common emotional trap, which is guilt. A lot of caring owners discover this behavior and immediately feel awful. They think, "I've been stressing my dog out, I've been doing affection wrong." But the goal here is not to make you feel guilty. It's to make you more precise. Your dog does not need perfect touch. They need responsive touch. That means noticing what kind of contact they actually seek, what kind they merely accept, and what kind seems to make them regulate afterward. Maybe they prefer side contact over face-to-face contact. Maybe they like shorter moments. Maybe they like being invited, not assumed. Maybe they lean in for chest rubs but duck head pats. Maybe they want affection when they approach, not when they're resting. Maybe they love touch, but only when the movement is slow and predictable. When you adjust to that, many dogs visibly soften. Not because you became less loving, but because your love became more legible to them. And this is where the sniff after petting turns into something almost beautiful. It becomes feedback. Your dog is not failing your affection test. They are teaching you their language. Now, there is one tension point worth taking seriously. Most floor sniffing after petting is not a crisis. It can be normal, subtle communication. But patterns matter. If this behavior is increasing suddenly, if it happens only when a certain body area is touched, or if it appears alongside flinching, freezing, hard staring, lip licking, yawning, moving away, hiding, growling, or a dramatic drop in social comfort, that's worth paying closer attention to. Because then the sniff may be one part of a bigger message, not just "I need a second," but "this interaction is uncomfortable for me." And if a dog who used to enjoy touch starts avoiding it, that change deserves respect. It can reflect emotional stress, a shift in handling sensitivity, or physical discomfort that is only becoming visible in behavior. No panic, just attention. The key is not to obsess over one gesture. The key is to notice the pattern. What happens before it? What happens after it? What kind of touch predicts it? Does the dog re-engage or withdraw? Does the body stay loose or become careful? That's where the truth lives. And maybe the most moving part of all this is that dogs rarely communicate in the dramatic ways humans expect. They don't sit us down and explain that they are over-aroused, conflicted, uncertain, or trying to self-soothe. They whisper it through body language, through little rituals, through behaviors we almost dismiss because they look too ordinary to matter. A sniff at the floor, a glance away, a shake through the body, a tiny pause. But ordinary does not mean meaningless. Sometimes the smallest behavior is the clearest window into the dog's inner life. So if your dog sniffs the floor after being petted, the deepest truth may be this: they are not just reacting to the floor. They are processing the interaction. They are organizing emotion. They are checking safety. They are using scent to steady themselves. They are, in their own very canine way, keeping the moment manageable. And once you see that, it becomes hard to unsee. What looked random becomes relational. What looked annoying becomes informative. What looked like distance can actually be your dog's way of staying connected without becoming overwhelmed. That is, the reframe I want you to keep. The sniff is not always a rejection of affection. Sometimes it is your dog's most polite version of honesty. I felt that. I'm handling it. Stay with me, but slower. If you've noticed your own dog doing this, I'd love to hear the full picture in the comments. What kind of petting was it? And what did your dog do next? Those little details reveal so much. And if you want more of these deep reads on everyday dog behavior, subscribe. Because the most important things dogs tell us are very often the things they never say out loud.